Welcome to Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Being a fireman, father, veteran, husband, world record holder, and Ironman, he brings stories of experience to impact your life while challenging you to live it. What do you want from your life? Why do you want it? Are you willing to go through the challenges to get there? If you have the courage to take that first step, let this podcast be the catalyst to start your fire, while you bring the resilience to make it continue to burn. Our lives are made up of moments called right nows. So let's get started. Forged in the Fires podcast with your host, Fireman Rob, begins now.
We got the same blood, stay by your side, it's ride or die, we've got the same blood.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today's guest is an amazing individual who has a story like no other, who continues to inspire hope today. He was in the U.S. Army, but I want to let him tell his story because I think starting from the beginning, it's going to be so powerful and you're going to be able to take a lot of things that you can take into your mindset to continue to live a great life. Rick Yarosh, thank you so much for joining me today. Uh-oh.
You there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hopefully it doesn't happen again. I don't know. I've never used this one before, so.
Yeah, this is the one I've used for the last 4 years. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's usually pretty reliable. It's probably me.
No, definitely not you. It's definitely not you, the one that's used it for 4 years and the guy that's used it once.
I'm not.
That's not how that works.
I'm not putting that.
But I appreciate you taking the blame.
Oh, I love it. Hey, this is what it's all about. You know, it's all.
That's
about
right.
challenges.
You got a lot of B-roll.
This is great B-roll. Actually, we'll just keep going from here. So
I think that's an amazing idea.
Now that you're back with me, Rick.
Yes.
It's great to have you on here. You know, thinking about your younger days when you were in high school and you played football, you were a wrestler. What made you choose to go into the military?
So I think that is the reason. That's what I was. I was a wrestler and I was a football player and I was an athlete, but I wasn't much of an academic. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I knew college was supposed to be the next step, and I went to college, and I went twice, like 2 different days.
2 different days.
Right, yeah, 2 different days I went. And, like when I was in high school, I barely got by. I did enough work to graduate, but it was just barely enough to graduate. And, I took that same mindset into my life after school. Like, I believed that my diploma would change everything. Like, right. They hand you that piece of paper, and then all of a sudden you're ambitious. And that's just not how that works.
The piece of paper didn't give you that.
No, it wasn't magic at all. I didn't know it wouldn't be, but it wasn't. And we all know this as adults now, but nothing changes unless we change. Like, unless we make a decision to change things. So, I kind of floated through life after high school. Had a bunch of cooking jobs, which I love cooking, but still, that's not what I wanted to do the rest of my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Well, actually, I wanted to be a state trooper. That was my goal. But the path I was on was not leading me there. So I knew that I had to make a change in my life. And, there were some things that just led up to that day that I went and signed those papers. But, kind of being lost was one of the biggest reasons.
And I've heard that when I was in, there was a few gentlemen who had the same kind of concept. Now, kind of getting into when you started into the military, how long did it take before that lost feeling went away and you felt like you were part of something bigger?
I always say that it was on the day I graduated basic training.
Oh, awesome.
Not just basic, but also my AIT. I always put the two together because my basic training and my job training were the same drill sergeants, so it didn't seem any different for me. Yeah, everybody else got the break; they got to leave those drill sergeants. We did not.
Same level of suck then.
Yes, it was. It was. If anyone knows Army basic training, you hear red phase, and I felt like we were in 4 months of red phase, which is not a good thing. But when I graduated and I was about to head to Fort Hood, Texas for my job, as a Calvary Scout, like that's when I finally thought I had it figured out. Like the plan is set in motion. Like I finally have some ambition. I learned a lot of that in basic training. I would consider myself a really good soldier at that time because I was a good follower. I don't know how much of a leader I was, but in that moment, I didn't need to be a great leader. I just needed to be a good follower and learn how to lead. Right. And that's what happened. I learned to be an amazing follower, and I learned the process of being a leader as the time went on. But I really felt like that was when things changed for me. I finally had life figured out. And obviously today, I know a lot different now.
And you were trained in the Bradley fighting vehicle, and I don't think a lot of people maybe know what that is. Give me more of an idea of how intricate is it to understand how to be in that, and what is it like to be in a Bradley fighting vehicle?
Well, I'll just tell you right now, in basic training, when we trained on all the different vehicles that Cavalry Scouts use, the Bradley being one of them, when we started training on the Bradley, the drill sergeants told us that their nickname was the rolling coffin.
Oh, geez, you got to be shitting.
Right. Yeah. So then I get to Fort Hood, Texas for my job, and they're like, "Here's your Bradley." I was like, "Oh, great.
Thanks.
You give me the rolling coffin. Awesome." But the idea is, if you got hit with something, and this has a lot to do with fire, if you got hit with something and there was a fire, you didn't get out. It's very hard to get those hatches open with the smoke and fire. It's hard to find the levers to get the hatches open. And then even if you find them, especially if you're in the back of the vehicle, it's just so hard to get those hatches open. So that's why they call them that. But I knew the vehicle, the running parts of the vehicle in and out. Like every single day when the Army didn't know what to do with us, they would send us to the motor pool. And so we worked on those vehicles hey, go PMCS your vehicle. I PMCS'd it 6 times this week, and we haven't moved the vehicle. Nothing's changed. I promise.
What did it take, and then you got deployed really soon after. You didn't have a long time to be able to get, accommodated to where you were. You got deployed in December of 2005.
Yeah. So I was there. I was in Fort Hood for about a year. So I had a little bit of, not too long, but that's the thing. Like I can remember when I was in Iraq, and we had guys coming straight from basic training. And just imagine that one, 18 years old, 4 months of basic training, which is really hard mentally. And then you're just sent straight to Iraq. Right. Here's the war. Thankfully, I had a year of training before that. So, a lot of training with the Bradley, learning how to do all those things. I wasn't a gunner in the Bradley, so I didn't really get to shoot the Bradley because I knew every other aspect of the Bradley. But then in Iraq, they're like, okay, now you're a gunner.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here you go.
Wow.
Shoot.
So what did it take when you got over there and you're on deployment and you know what the Bradley's like, getting in it every single day? Was there anything in your mind that was going, that you were just second guessing certain things?
Well, I think in the beginning, yes. In the beginning, you kind of second guessed everything, even some of the choices that you made to join the military, like being over there. And, the first day that I was in Iraq, I can remember there was a bifold pamphlet being passed out, and it was for a memorial service for a soldier. And that was my first day there. Like, I haven't experienced war yet. We drove up through Iraq to get to Baghdad, but that was my only experience. And then the next day we wake up and they're passing those things out for somebody who was killed. So, you kind of second guess some of that stuff, but you also know your purpose, and you're there to help your brothers, and you're there to save your brothers if they need to be saved, and that's what it's about. So, but in the beginning, it was a lot of like when we went out on missions. I can remember before we would go through that gate, we would stop and we would pray and we would talk about things, and 4 or 5 months in, that just didn't happen anymore.
It was just you just
Yeah.
what changed?
Oh, you just become numb to it. I mean, it was just, at the beginning, it's almost like a fear, like, okay, this could be our day. Month 5, you're not even thinking about that. You've made it that far. You're just not even thinking about it anymore. It still could be, but you just don't even, it's just another day.
Right.
In the beginning, it was like, man, we're going out there, there's IEDs, there's people shooting at us. 5 months in, you're like, okay, ready to go on mission. And that was just kind of how it was. I always think of it this way. And this is terrible, but we would be out on a mission for 2 or 3 days at a time, sometimes a week, but most of the time it was 2 or 3 days gone. And then we would come back to our fob for a day or a night or whatever. And we would get time to use the payphones. And we would go to use the payphone. And, in Iraq, the best time to call back home is late at night, 2 a.m, something like that. And we would go to the payphones and they'd be off. Really? And the reason they were off, and we knew why they were off, but we would be so angry that the phones were off because we couldn't call home. But the reason they were off is because somebody was killed. And they didn't want anybody calling home to that family and letting them know before the army could tell them. But really? That's how numb you become to it. Like you were angry. You didn't even think about the person that was killed. Wow. Yeah, you were angry that you couldn't make the phone call home. But it was almost every night. So that's just how often it was happening. And that's how numb you became to it. And I think in the beginning when that happened, you start thinking about who that was and their family and all that. But 5 months in, you're thinking about the fact that you can't make a phone call home.
Wow. That's such a perspective that a lot of people, I don't believe, understand. And the little things.
It's hard for me to understand it sometimes. Like what, especially now, being so far removed from it, 17 years, like it's crazy that I could think that way, but you just become used to it and you just become numb to it. Numb is the word.
Yeah. No, it's a different mindset and mentality to be able to be operationally ready at every single moment.
Yeah.
And you just kind of move forward. So you were there for a year. And then, less than a year, I should say. Then September 1st, 2006, I know you probably told this story ad nauseum, right?
Yeah, but I want to. Yeah, it's my story. It's my story, man. I love telling it. It's just it's why I am who I am today.
I love that, and I want to give you that moment to be able to. I don't want to even set it up. I want you to tell me the day started and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, this day started like every other day. Hey, it's mission day, and every day was mission day. Yep. And let's get that vehicle ready and let's load into it. And I would even tell you that there were some days that we didn't even know what the mission exactly was, but we knew we were going out and we were going to do something, and who knows exactly, they talk about mission planning and all of that stuff, but when you're doing it every single day, you don't have time to mission plan every single second of the day. So we were going, I'm pretty sure we were going to meet some high level official in one of the towns in Iraq and one of the villages in Iraq. And, just again, like every other day, and we all loaded up, myself, my buddy, Sergeant Montes, and my other buddy, Specialist Lowe. That day I was gunning the Bradley. My buddy Montes was our Bradley commander and Lowe was our driver. And we rolled out with 5 vehicles, 3 Humvees, 2 Bradleys, and the 2 Bradleys were in the back of the convoy. And we were the rear vehicle. So as the rear vehicle, you are also rear security, which means facing backwards, which means dust. And you can't see anything. So it's just not a fun position to be in. So I don't know how long we were into the mission, but we decided we wanted to move up to the 4th vehicle. So we asked the 4th vehicle if we could switch for a little while. And they agreed. So that Bradley moved to the 5th vehicle. We moved up one, and probably about 2 minutes later, our vehicle was hit with improvised explosive device, an IED, and went through the bottom of the vehicle and up into the turret where I was sitting. And one of the, I don't know if it's a flaw, because there's nowhere else to put it, but I guess one of the flaws of the Bradley is in the turret of the Bradley is also where our fuel tank is. And it hit the fuel tank, JP8. I was covered in fuel. The vehicle was covered in fuel, and we were all on fire instantly. And thankfully that day, what I talked about earlier, the rolling coffin, you don't get out of those vehicles. Well, That day I left the hatch above me open, which normally I do not. Yeah, very, very lucky I left that hatch open. If I had not, there's no way. With I was 200 pounds. I was wearing my IBAS, so the vest adds a couple inches. Finding that lever would have been difficult, and if I found that lever and somehow got that hatch open, getting stuck in the hole itself, like it would have been a big problem. Thank God I did not have to figure that out. I was able to just climb through. So once I got to the top of the turret, the next thing I knew I had to do was jump off, and no time to climb down, and I just had to jump. And two big problems: the top of the turret of the Bradley to the ground is 10 feet, so it's a long ways to the ground. But bigger problem than that was the fact that I couldn't see, and that's because my face was on fire and the fire was covering my eyes. But I knew I had to jump. We talk about taking a leap of faith in life. This was a literal leap of faith. I just had to jump and hope that I would make it to the ground safely. And I did make it to the ground, but it wasn't safely, because when I landed, I couldn't see the ground and I couldn't brace myself for the landing. So when I landed, I actually broke my leg very badly below my knee. And that's how today I have a prosthetic leg that's below my knee. Then I'm on the ground. And, we're taught that thing when we're 4 or 5 years old: stop, drop, and roll.
It works, doesn't it?
That's what I did. And guess what?
I know it did work. I know that you actually rolled into.
I rolled into a canal. Yeah, because it didn't work.
It didn't work.
No, because it did not. So stop, drop, and roll works if your shirt is on fire.
Right, not if you're covered in fuel.
Right. I'm covered in fuel, but that's what I was taught to do. And honestly, I couldn't do anything else. I was my leg was broken, so I couldn't stand up and run anywhere. Right. And even if I could stand up and run, where was I going? I couldn't see anything because my face was on fire. So when stop, drop, and roll did not work, and there was not an option to run, I did the most regrettable thing I've ever done in my life, and that is when I just gave up. And I think that's the most regrettable thing anyone can ever do in their life is give up on life. And that's what I did that day. I laid on my back and I stared up into the sky and I gave up. I accepted the fact that I would die in that moment. And, like I said, regrettable. And in Sweethearts and Heroes, I speak for an organization called Sweethearts and Heroes. And the word hope is something I talk a lot about. And hope stands for hold on, possibilities exist. But in that moment of hopelessness, I wasn't holding on for any possibilities that existed. I was giving up. And everyone deals with difficult things in their life, every single one of us. And sometimes they lead to a lack of hope, those difficult things. But we have to hold on to find out what the possibilities are, even though we may not know what those possibilities are. So that's when eventually, I ended up rolling in one direction, because when I think of stop, drop, and roll too, I think of rolling back and forth and back and forth.
Right.
But then I rolled in one direction and actually fell into a canal. And I was, no idea that canal was there. But it had, when we think of a canal, sometimes we think of the Erie Canal, like this huge body of water. And this was like a ditch, thankfully, because it was just enough water to put the fire out and save my life. A couple of my buddies found me. They carried me out. And then about 30 minutes later, the helicopters came and took me and my buddies away to the hospital. But out of all the things that I've dealt with in my recovery, certainly the hardest thing is losing my buddy. I lost my good buddy, Sergeant Luis Montes. So he was the one that was our Bradley commander. So sitting right next to me in that Bradley that day, and he's probably the reason I left my hatch open too. He was standing up in the vehicle that day, which means he had his hatch open, and I was probably thinking, if he's leaving his hatch open, there's no point in closing mine. So. Yeah, so I lost him. So I think about him every single day. I say his name every single day, and I think about the amazing person that he is, because he's still changing my life for the positive.
Tell me more about him.
I've always known the importance of family. Family is the most important thing in my life, but his was on another level. When we were in Iraq and we were making money, with our paychecks, saving up for that Hyundai Tiburon. That's what I wanted. I can remember if I had any free time, I'd go on the Tiburon website and I would build my Tiburon. There's probably a reason they don't make Tiburons anymore. They were probably an awful vehicle. That's what I wanted.
That's what you
But
wanted.
like that's so I was saving money for that. Well, Montes, he was taking all his money and he was sending it home to his family.
Wow.
His parents and his brothers, and he was, helping them out with life. And I don't know, that's just a different level. That is a level above even what I loved, how much I loved my family. So he just taught me the importance of that and to a higher level. He's just an amazing human being. I think of him every single day.
Do you remember? And I know this is hard because you can tell me to no, you're not going to answer. But do you remember what your mindset was as soon as you? I mean, obviously, it's a lot of quick moments. But do you remember any of the little things that you were thinking when you're going through that whole ordeal?
So I remember, and this is what the kids ask me this all the time, like, what were you thinking when it happened? And honestly, it was just survive.
Right.
Like survive, like, and getting out of the vehicle was the first step. Getting off of the vehicle was the second step. Putting the fire out was the third step. Like, those are the things that I was thinking about. And then once the fire was out and my buddies were standing over me, helping me out, once they pulled me out of that canal, that's where I'm thinking, like, okay, what's the rest of this life look like for me? Like, is there a rest of this life even? I didn't know if there would even be a rest of my life. I had no clue. But I started thinking about that. I knew things were bad because, my hands were so burned that my palms were hanging from my fingertips. So that was very obvious to me. And I've seen the term called degloving.
Degloving.
So I saw that. And, I had the same exact situation with my face. My face was hanging from my chin. So I knew that it was bad. And I knew if I lived, my life was going to be different. But I remember most everything except for one thing that was told to me afterwards. My lieutenant came to visit me in the hospital, and he told me that I kept repeating it over and over. And I don't remember this. I remember thinking about it, but I don't remember saying it. I kept saying over and over and over. He said I said it about 1,000 times. Don't let me go into shock. Please don't let me go into shock. Please don't let me go into. He said I probably said it about 1,000 times. And I don't remember that. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't even know a ton about shock. Like, I remember learning about it in basic training and I remember one thing they said is don't drink water. I don't know what that is.
Surgery.
I don't remember why, but I remember that. And when I'm laying there on the ground, and I can remember this too. My buddy tried to give me water, and I can remember telling him, no, I can't drink water. I don't know what that even means, but
it's just almost that subconscious
thought
process.
I remember he took his shirt off and he dipped it in water and he put it on my mouth instead of like giving me water to drink. Yeah, and I really know nothing about shock other than the very quick thing we learned in basic. But I remember don't drink water, and I didn't know if I was going into shock, but I was probably in shock while I was saying that.
Yeah, but that stuck well. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I still think about that today, how crazy that is.
Wow. So now let's fast forward. You had a ton of work to get to, even being able to function. What did it look like in your mind when you were going through that? Because I can't imagine. I can't imagine the struggle, the pain, the ups, the downs. What was one thing in your mind that you kind of focused on to draw you through?
Hyundai Tiburon.
Oh, man. It's actually, I have to find one of those and get you one. Damn it!
I had a Honda Prelude when I was like 18. I think it was similar to that, so I wanted. But I can remember there was a sheet in my room, and my parents had to fill it out. Like, what are things that I wanted to do in life? And I couldn't answer those questions, but these were answers that my parents already knew. And one of them they wrote on there was he wants a Hyundai Tiburon. He wants to walk the Appalachian Trail. Like, those were things that they knew I wanted to do, and I can remember. I still have that sheet. Somewhere, and actually on that same sheet of paper is Chuck Norris's autograph.
Oh, tell me you've gotten that.
He came into the hospital to visit me, and my parents didn't have it, so he signed that piece of paper. That's pretty.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is so cool.
yeah.
That
My
is so
dad met
cool.
him, and my dad shook hands with him. And I hope Chuck doesn't hear this because my dad told me that Chuck Norris shakes hands like a girl.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, no. So, Chuck, if you ever hear this, I'm sorry. But
but hey, I think you have the right to say that.
Yeah. But you know what drove me through all of that was my parents and the people that surrounded me. And yes, you have to have a will to survive and a want to survive, but that's not all it takes. Like, that is absolutely. I'm not here today if it's not for the doctors and the nurses and the my psychologist, psychiatrist, chaplain, my physical therapist, my occupational therapist, my parents, my brother. Like, I mean, thousands of people. But yes, you have to start that with a will to survive and a want and a desire for things in the future. But you also have to recognize that you don't get through stuff like this on your own. You do not. And it's important to recognize that. And a lot of people won't say that because then they're admitting that they can't do something on their own, which is like a weakness. That's not a weakness. Recognizing that you need help is a strength. Like, that's silly to think that. But I know people that do. I can do that on my own. All right, man. And then when you fail, what are you going to do then? You got to ask for help. So I am a product of the people that have surrounded me and the positive attitudes that have surrounded me. But, you mentioned like the pain that I was in and all that stuff. And that stuff was the stuff that, made me not want to make it. Like the burns themselves, when I was first burned, they did not hurt at all. The fire itself did not hurt. What hurt was the hospital, the surgeries, the debriding, and the showers. I can remember. I can remember going into the showers, and I can remember not only the pain that I was feeling, but the pain that everybody else that was having a shower was feeling because of the screams that you heard. Like, honestly, if there's a hell on earth, it's the ICU of a burn unit, but at the same time, that hell on earth is full of angels because the people that
That's awesome.
choose to help, those nurses and those doctors who stand in that 100-degree room while they're working on you, they're angels. They are absolute angels. Yeah. And you know what? Again, I'm a product of those people, and I understand what they do and what they did for me. I didn't do this on my own. I'm strong, but I'm not that strong. They gave me a lot of that strength.
You're freaking really strong, right?
I do appreciate it.
I want you to go back into that. I love that hope. Hold on, possibilities exist. When did that first come to you, and how have you incorporated that into each day that's probably new for you as you continue?
Well, I mean, somebody else had actually said that saying to me, "Hold on, possibilities exist," and I don't remember when it even came from. So I'm not the guy that came up with it, but it's an amazing saying. And one thing I've learned in life is just because you didn't do it doesn't mean you can't use it. If it's something extremely important, and you believe in something, then use it. Like, I always think like this. Like, people say, a doctor that didn't invent the cure for cancer, would they not use the cure because they didn't come up with it? That would be silly, because it's going to help millions of people. So I believe that HOPE, hold on, possibilities exist, can help millions of people as well. And I use it, and I use it in my own life. People think about hold on, possibilities exist, and what are those possibilities? Well, I don't know what they are, and you probably don't know what they are, but they are. They are something, and you have to hold on to find out what they are. Like, the opportunity that I've had to speak to almost 2 million students across the country, that came from holding on to find out that was even a possibility. Never in my life would have thought that speaking to students would be something that I would ever do. But you hold on long enough, and you find out that the possibilities are amazing. They're truly amazing.
What is the reaction? I mean, that's the hard thing. Is like, you have the visual, like you were burned and you have, you have prosthetic. How do you get the kids, probably even some adults, to look past that and look at the soul and look at the strength and look at the courage that you have that you're trying to give to them?
Yeah, so we speak to pre-K through 12 most days, and when I walk into that room with those little kids, the kindergarten, first graders, I mean, they don't, my face is very burned. My whole entire face was affected by the fire, and I don't have my
damn good smile though, Rick.
Well, I appreciate it. I have been told that. But I've also been told I have a face for radio. I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm on radio. What are you thinking here?
I know. That's right. That's perfect. You and me, Rob. We got a face for radio.
We got this going, Rick.
When I walk into that room, those kindergartners, they don't see me as a person. They don't see me as a human being because they know what a human being looks like. I mean, that's what they've learned for the first 5 years of their life, what a human looks like, ears and a nose and hair and all those things, a mouth that looks a certain way. And I don't look that way. So when I walk into the room, there's a lot of those kids who are trying to figure out what I even am. Or am I wearing a mask? Or is that a monster, honestly? Or is that an alien? Or like those are the questions that they have. And I can see that right when I walk out. And 15 years ago, there's zero chance I would have been doing this because I couldn't handle that. I didn't want a little kid seeing me as a monster. I didn't want a little kid seeing me as an alien. I didn't want that. But that's what I got to deal with, and that's okay now because I can change. If I don't want to do anything about it, I will never change how they see me. But now, today, I want to change that. So I have to go out there and do this. And when I go out there and I can pick out the kids right away who are just so unsure of what they're seeing. And I start the conversation with good morning or good afternoon, and they hear my voice for the first time. I can see it almost change instantly. Like, oh, wait a minute. That's a voice of a person. And then I get to tell a little tiny piece of my story. I just tell them I was a soldier who was hurt really bad. And, depending on the age, I get to talk about my dog and I get to grow a relationship with these kids. And all of a sudden at the end, I'm just Rick to them. And that's all I'm trying to do is just be Rick by the time I leave. Because that way, if they see me out in public, guess what? They're going to look at their mom and dad and be like, oh my God, there's Rick. It's not going to be, oh my God, what is that? So exposing them to things that they're going to see out in public anyways, that's what I used to be afraid of. And today that's what I love to do.
Gosh, I love that. I love that, Rick. Man, I could talk to you all day.
I could as well, man.
This is awesome. I appreciate you coming on today. I want people to make sure you go to Rick Yarosh. It's Yarosh, commonspelling.net.
Are you laughing at my .net?
No, I'm laughing at your common spelling of your last name.
Oh, I was thinking you were laughing at my .net.
Hey,
I couldn't even get the .com. How can I not
get
a
Yahoo account? Don't you?
No, I don't. I have a Hotmail account. I'm rocking an AOL account.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Rick's got mail.
That's right. The
other website I want you to go to is sweetheartsandheroes.com. It's an amazing site that you have. I got 3 questions for you, Rick, to end this podcast. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
All right. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what would be one piece of advice that you'd give yourself?
Oh, man. Well, at this point in my life, I had already screwed up in school, so I'm already past that.
You're already past that. You can't go back.
Yeah, I don't know. At that point, the mistakes I've made since then until joining the Army is what really led me to the Army. So I don't know if I would tell myself a whole lot.
You just like
I don't think I would even tell myself like don't do the bad things, the regrettable things that you did, because they wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't be talking to you right now today if I didn't make some of those mistakes.
That's a good answer. Maybe you could tell yourself to like a different car.
Yes, I could. It would be a Honda Prelude, so it wouldn't be much of a step up.
Yeah,
They don't make those either.
Porsche, whatever.
Yeah, right.
All right. So this one I love, and you've given some advice on this, but if you could, everybody goes through challenges and struggles in life, and if you could have them incorporate 2 habits into their daily life to continue to push forward, to continue to move forward, what would those 2 things be?
Say that one more time. I want to break that down.
So if you could give people who, everybody has challenges and struggles in their lives.
Yeah.
If you could give them 2 habits that they could incorporate into their daily life
Mm-hmm.
to continue to push forward.
Yeah.
What would those 2 things be?
Oh man, I can think of one right off the bat. This is one of my favorite things. No matter what you are dealing with in your life, no matter how difficult that thing is that you are dealing with, there are beautiful things happening around you every second of every day.
Love that.
And you have to see those things. It took me too long after my injury to see those things. And next time I deal with something extremely difficult, it won't take me as long. I'm going to find those amazing things. Yeah. And then recognize that, the hope that I'm talking about when you're dealing with difficult things, you may not know what the possibilities are, but if you want them to be awesome, they will be awesome. So hold on for the awesome possibilities that exist for your future.
I love that. All right. This last one's fun. If you could have coffee at a firehouse table, so in other words, you can ask any questions, they have to be answered. You're going to have a lot of fun there. Who, with 3 people, they could be deceased or alive, who would those 3 people be and why?
Oh, man, I've always wanted to have coffee with Chris Farley.
Oh, my God. He's from Wisconsin.
That's right.
He went to Madison Edgewood. Yeah.
That'd
be funny.
I love Chris Farley. A big step away from Chris Farley, Jesus Christ.
Would be an interesting table. I want to see this third one.
Yeah. So, let's make it real interesting. We got Jesus Christ. We got Chris Farley, and
SNL skit.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Who is my third? Oh man, who is my third? I don't know. I think I'd like to have a conversation with Einstein. He's obviously a brilliant human being, but he's also said some amazing things that we use. And one of his quotes that we use is, "This world is a dangerous place, but it's not because of evil people. It's because of those who choose to do nothing about it."
Wow.
And I think I would love to have more of a conversation about that statement that he made.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. Yeah, and he probably had similar grades to you in high school.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's right.
he had terrible grades in high school, which is hilarious.
I don't know about
that one. Hey, Rick, it has been such an honor to have you on today, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate what you've done for our country, and definitely continue to live forward, brother.
Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate this opportunity, the conversation that we have, and I also thank you for what you choose to do, because in life, it's not about what we have to do. It's about the choices that we make.
Oh, that's a perfect way to end it. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share this episode with a friend or family. To find out more about Fireman Rob or reach out about a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.